My name is James Pierce.
And who do we have here?
This is Lucy. She is,
Hold her up a little bit so we can. What's
she
up,
does not
Lucy?
like being held
Yeah,
or
I
picked
don't
up.
either. Yeah, same me either. It makes me feel intimidated.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself, man. Maybe like what your experience was like with addiction, or maybe like the first time or last time you felt like this thing had a hold on you, whichever you prefer, or really wherever you want to start.
My first experience with drugs was very young. Um, I went into foster care, state's custody, and was adopted. My younger brother and I were taken from our biological mother because she was a drug addict. She's a drug addict.
How old were you then?
I turned 6 the first year they had us, so I was young. My mom was extremely young when she had us. She was still a teenager when she had me. 4 years older than my brother. And but the people that adopted us were affluent people. They were well off, good people, church going people. So I was like 360 taken from an environment where there was no food or care or utilities to an environment where I was afforded private school education and all of the things. But I became unruly as a teenager when they put me from private school into public school, and I had a friend that killed himself when I was in high school, and I felt responsible for that, and I started to drink. And became unruly. And when I turned 18, I still had a semester and a half of high school left, and my parents put me out on my own. And when I say my parents, I mean my adopted parents.
Because of how unruly you were?
Yeah, things that I were doing in their home that they weren't okay with, and they shouldn't have had to be okay with. Not respecting their home or their privacy or their security or anything like that. And so they put me on my own to fend for myself. And my dad tried to help me when he could, but my mom really wasn't having it and put a strain on their relationship. And I'm lazy. I don't like to work. So I started to sell drugs. And the end result, as most of us that have done it know, you sell drugs long enough, you start to do drugs. You do drugs long enough, you become a junkie. I would say the greatest piece of advice I was ever given in my life was from my father. And when I started drinking in high school, I asked him if it was morally wrong to drink or drug. And I knew when he was in college and high school, he had some experience with that. And he's like, buddy, I'm not even going to weigh in on that. I'd be a hypocrite one way or the other. He's like, I don't think you should do it. He said, but I will tell you one thing I know for sure. If you don't ever drink, it's impossible to become an alcoholic. If you don't ever take drugs, it's impossible to become a junkie. That's the only thing I know for sure about that. And I guess because of what I was born into, I thought maybe I was better or smarter than my mom. And I had kind of a complex that like there was obviously something wrong with her. There wasn't something wrong with me, right? And I'm not sure why I internalized everything that I went through at that age, but I did. And I felt like maybe it was my fault. And
You feel like maybe in some way that using or drinking would give you some common ground with your mom? Like a connection?
I definitely would not have wanted to put it that way while I was doing it, man, because I wanted to be the furthest thing from whatever kind of human she was,
Naturally.
I wanted to prove to myself that I could successfully drink and use drugs and be a successful drug dealer or whatever, and then ended up having a kid, and the longer I kept walking in and out of my kid's life and the older my kid got and I couldn't stop, I came to realize, and it was a harsh truth, but for my mother to just give us up and walk away from us one time probably caused a lot less harm to me than that revolving door program I had with my kid.
Wow.
And that was a hard pill to swallow, but definitely was no better than her. And in a lot of ways, I don't know what all she's lived since then, but
You saw yourself become that magnified.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. What was your main type of dope you were doing?
So I went to prison for selling club drugs, LSD and ecstasy. But before they sentenced me that, I started IV using pain pills, Oxycontin, morphine.
How long ago was this?
Early 2000s, so probably from 2007 until I did opiates and pain pills until November 2013, so for about 7 years.
Wow. IV use the whole time?
Yeah, IV, yeah.
So you became your own phlebotomist in that way,
Yes.
You figured it out.
Yeah, and I was one of those people that like they didn't work anymore. I couldn't get the relief that I was looking for, right? And I would watch these people do like nowhere near what I was doing, snorting them, right, and nod slap out, and I'm like, man, I'm about to do $300 worth of pills and still be sick, like, and I'm too embarrassed and ashamed to act like, man, show me how to do that. So like I go on YouTube, like how one does this and then goes to Tractor Supply. And
I've heard that's like one of the most like viewed videos.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Like you supposedly can't put that content out there, but like that's harm anyway.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Taught me. Why you reduce them all? I ain't never done it before. How-to video to ruin your life.
Tractor Supply with like a double zero gauge.
How to wreck your life in one moment.
So there you are.
Yeah.
You're learning how to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gave up all semblance of trying to be a successful drug dealer, working a job, because like I was a moderately successful drug dealer for a little while, and would keep a job that ran a cash register so I could launder my money, because I learned the hard way from a marijuana charge I'd caught that the money can get you in trouble. Like, Roger, I've got 6 drug charges and have never actually physically been caught with narcotics. You know what I'm saying? Like,
how's that happen?
Marked money, for one, where they record the serial numbers on the money, informants, wires, conspiracy charges, things of that nature. But yeah.
So you find yourself in prison in what, 2013-ish?
They caught me in 2014.
Okay.
Sentenced me to prison, and
what did they sentence you? Like, what was your sentence?
8 years at 30%. I'd never had a violent charge of any kind. It was the first felony conviction that I had. And I was a first-time offender. So I parole mandated release upon completion of an inpatient drug program in the prison, which I was unable to complete. And they put me in population on the compound. And the prison that I was at was 45 minutes outside of Memphis. And it was predominantly black. And it was a it was a corporate-run prison rather than a state-run prison. It's run for profit.
Yes. Which means that the very little amenities is compared to a state-run facility.
Yes. Yeah. And they get paid to house people. So if you're not housed there, if you make parole or whatever, they're not getting, the bed's open and they're not getting paid. So like the chances of getting in trouble for a little bit of nothing are increased. It's real hard to make parole from places like that. And more than anything, though, I'm terrified. Because I'm outside of my element. This is not my culture. And most of these people are from Memphis, which is a very violent place. And a lot of them are, under the age of 25 and have life sentences. That's a scary combination.
Oh, absolutely.
In a place where violence is the order of the day.
In a completely different culture. And it's like being on another planet, in a way.
Yeah. So I'm filled with fear. I don't know what to do. And I'm the kind of a person that, like, fear comes out of me. It looks like anger, aggression, and violence.
Yeah.
And so the Aryan Nation white supremacist gang immediately recognized that, and they approached me. Roger, when they sent me to prison, when they arrested me, and they sent me maybe 6 weeks later, but when they arrested me, I was 112 pounds, had hair down to my shoulders, had never really been anywhere and done anything, and I was not a violent person. But like, while incarcerated, I get scared and I behave violently. And they offered to make me a gang member, man. And
you go through like a probate period and all that?
Yeah, they give you this tiny little white stone. It's like this big. You have to carry it on your person for a year. And there's all this other stuff that you got to do, man.
You have to put in what they call work.
Yeah, put in work, man, for a year. And they got all this literature you got to memorize and stuff like that you got to do, work out, things like that. Learn their ideology. And violence is the order of the day, man. Like, if you're a probate, you're the guy they send to handle all their violent stuff.
How old were you when this happened?
2014, what is it? 2024 now.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
And I turned 38 next month, so I would have been
that's still
28.
And you compound that with the fear of being out of your element and literally don't know what's going to happen from moment to moment.
Yeah.
It's like a type of welcome to brainwashing, right? Like the security that
And what will I assimilate to in order to
stay
I don't
alive?
even have a home to go to, man, but I'm trying to get there. Like I'm saying, I don't want. Like, this is not where I'm.
You can see the door. You're not doing a life. You're not doing a football jersey number.
Yeah, I'm terrified, man. And I do the things, man. And
What would you say, like, just you don't have to, but like the hardest point or like the most darkest thing you experienced while being there? And if it gets you in trouble, you don't have to say or
nah,
anything.
you're fine. I had a therapist ask me one day, man, when I got out, because I went and sought some mental health services for post traumatic, all PTSD and all that stuff. He's like, man, what was the most harmful thing to you in prison? What's the worst thing that ever happened to you? I was like, I don't know. I think the thing that had the worst impact on me was the stuff that I went and did to other people.
Ah,
You know, and
because that's not who you feel like you are, somewhere. Because
no, but I became that person, you know,
Ah.
and then like fear and power and control. These are things that they're addictive, especially when you've been this tiny little scared person your whole life, you know, and for the first time in my life, I had a position of power. People feared me. I had the ability to follow through with that and give you a reason to be scared. And, but I had, a guy went and stole some drugs from some other gang members that he should not have done. And there were 23 of them and only 4 of us. And they decided they were going to try and stab us to death over it. And, I ended up spending 9 days in the infirmary behind that. And I didn't even get to smoke a joint out of it, you know. I didn't even get to do any of the drugs. And,
that's part of like it. You got to ride regardless, though, right?
yeah, but the scary, probably one of the scariest moments of my life, Roger, is I woke up in the infirmary. I have no idea where I am. So last thing I know, all this bloodbath is happening and they're trying to kill us. And when I wake up, my immediate assessment of what's happening is I'm in a room, the lights are off, I have no clothes on, I'm face down, and I'm on a mattress of some kind. And somebody's hand's on my shoulder. And I panic. Like I panic.
Yeah.
And I go for the floor and I bring this person with me. And this woman starts screaming, "It's okay, don't hurt him, he's just scared, la 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 la." And I'm in the infirmary and they've cut my clothes off of me because I've got 8 stab wounds. And she's trying to fix me up, and they've also checked me for weapons, and I'm in a room with no lights because it's the X-ray room, you know. But that's not what I thought was happening when I woke up.
Naturally.
And that's probably one of the scariest. There's definitely the scariest moment in prison, but it's probably one of the scariest moments of my life.
Naturally, it sounds
And,
terrifying.
Yeah.
So what was it after that incident occurred? How long was it before you made it out? I know there's a lot that happens in between them mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally, and all the things. But,
I ended up doing 6.5 years on an 8 at 30% because I just stayed in trouble.
which is a long time in the
Yeah.
state of Tennessee.
Yeah. And I managed to go the first 3 years of my sentence sober because as a gang member, you're not allowed to do drugs, you know. And I had a position of authority in the gang, so I definitely shouldn't have been doing drugs. So kind of out of fear of consequence, which that's not like a long-term model for success for like being sober. Because if I had a fear of success, a healthy fear of consequence, I would have done and sold drugs, so I ended up in prison in the first place, you know. So I began to think that maybe I can safely do drugs behind closed doors, you know, since I have this position of authority and people are under me and I'm in charge. Nobody's really looking that close at me, right? Mm-hmm. And that doesn't go well, right? So by the time I'm done, I spend the last 4 months that I'm in prison refusing cell assignment so that I don't have to go to protective custody because I owe thousands of dollars in drug debt on the compound. You know what I'm saying? I dropped down to 140 pounds from 180. I was strung out bad. It's that easy to get drugs while incarcerated in TDOC.
So you're refusing to go to a.
Yeah, like I don't want to go to protective custody because I'm trying to keep my pride and my honor, right?
Yeah. But
I can also slick go to protective custody just by simply refusing my cell assignment, which is an automatic Class A go to the hole. And when my 10 days are up,
do it again.
Do it again. And I did that for 4 months rather than face my problems, pay my debt because I didn't have the means. And so when I got out of prison, I was 4 months sober. Because I'm hiding in the hole for drug debt. Nobody's giving me any drugs.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You parole out, they give you a bus ticket.
Nah, flattened out, man. They gave me a $70 check and dropped me off at the bus station in Johnson City. And I'm actually from Knoxville, and had every intention of returning there. But I'd met a girl that worked at the prison that was local, and of course she got fired. But she picked me up from the bus station, and I've been here ever since.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that was, what, you did 6 years for, you 2020?
February 12th, 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. So what did it look like? How'd you find your way to Recovery Resources?
I was here 6 months and 11 days, and I got a 300-gram conspiracy charge.
Wow, that quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
And while fighting that charge, I managed to catch aggravated assault with a firearm. Managed to get that dismissed, and I caught a maintaining a dwelling. I managed to get that dismissed. And ended up getting put on probation for the conspiracy charge. And I moved to Mountain City. And I will say this, man, when your probation officer talks about, man, if you need help, come tell us you need help. And a lot of people are scared to do that.
Yeah.
I can tell you from my own lived experience that I relapsed right after they put me on probation, and I didn't know what to do. And I walked into my probation office, and I told them I needed help. And they helped me. You know, they allowed me to pull a geographical. They put me on some strict supervision and drug tests. But they helped me. They didn't just throw me in jail, you know. And I didn't know what else to do, but I thought for sure they would just throw me in jail, you know. And but they allowed me to pull a geographical, and I moved to Johnson County in Mountain City. And I was sober about 2 or 3 months there, and I started getting high at work, selling drugs at work. And because of what I was doing, these people targeted me and attempted to rob me, and I defended myself. And I got a 2nd-degree attempted murder charge. And I thought my life was over. I panicked. And I'd come to this realization that I was either going to spend my life in prison, right? Or somebody was going to kill me because of the way I live my life, the stuff that I do to people, or for what I have. Or... And I'm conditioned for violence. Like I now have an automatic, like, knee-jerk violent response because of my PTSD from what I learned in prison and all of the things, full of fear, man. And it shows in how I react to, like, every situation that comes along, and it's progressively getting worse. And so I was like, man, my best solution is to get out of here and make these police kill me. Because if you look at my charges and how I progressed, if they see me with a firearm, they're going to kill me. Right? And that way I don't have to go to prison, and I don't have to be a drug addict anymore. Because I don't want either.
Easiest way out.
Yeah, and I don't know how to stop either. And so I cut a pen tube, linked the pen tube, and I packed a razor blade in it. And I melted the ends closed, and I swallowed it. And I hit the button, told them I'd try to kill myself. I swallowed a razor blade. They took me to the hospital, and they x-rayed me. And they didn't really believe I'd done it at first. But the plastic didn't show up, but the razor blade did, man. And they about crapped a live chicken. The whole chicken. And, man, they shot off, got me to Johnson City Medical Center, right? And I was on the secure wing of the hospital. So they felt like they didn't need to leave an officer. Then they gave me some paperwork, said that they'd be back to get me, not to leave. You know, but I'm on a secure mental health wing, like the suicide watch wing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I escaped. Because that was my plan, was to go get firearms and make the police kill me. Because I didn't know what else to do. And I've tried to kill myself before, and I can't follow through with it, you know.
Yeah.
But I felt like I could do that. And this little church lady that I know, whose husband used to be a preacher, he's dead now. I call her Mama Jean. She's a big part of my recovery story, man. She's from here. And she never really enabled me or gave me money or nothing like that. But on the off chance I was willing to go to a court date or did willing to go to probation or I needed something to eat, she would show up for me. And out of the blue, man, she shows up, right? And she's always told me that she talks to God and God talks to her. And most people think she's crazy. I don't. Not anymore. And because this woman shows up out of left field. She's like, this plan that you have to make the police kill you is not what's supposed to happen, James. I'm like, who have you been talking to? Like, we don't run in the same circles. There's no way you could have. She's like, I'm telling you, I talk to God, and God talks to me. That's not the plan. If you will let me, he told me that if you let me take you to turn yourself in, that things will be different this time, that your life will change. and it'll be okay. And I'm like, you're crazy. There's no way. Like, I'm escaped. I've got all kinds of drugs. The police are going to kill me. Like, that's what's going to happen, you know? Yeah. I've got a court date in like 2 or 3 days. That, of course, I'm not going to because I'm escaped, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I called her. I was like, listen, if you will take me, I will go to court. All right.
So you're escaped and go to court.
Right.
I wonder what they were like. Yo, we got a bench warrant for the Mr.
Oh, the
Harrison.
dude told me the guy that arrested me in the parking lot was mad. He told me he'd lost money on a bet and everything. Like, he thought I'd be out of state or something, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't make it in the building. They got me in a parking lot. And, but anyway, so they had me charged with, I guess they wrote it up as like failure to report to a criminal summons.
Yeah.
You arrested me at my court date. How's that fly? You know, I don't know. But when you follow it through, man, they dismiss everything. But I had caught an assault charge inside the jail.
Yeah.
It violated my probation in Carter County. But I beat the attempted murder charge, the escape charge, all of the things except that little assault charge in their jail.
Yeah.
And they put me on misdemeanor probation for that. And then I go back to here to Carter County here, where I've got my state probation for the conspiracy charge. These people are tired of seeing me. Tired of seeing me.
Yeah.
And the judge is sitting there and he's like, well, what are we going to do? And the DA's like, no probation. Probation officer's like, no probation. And I'm like, listen, buddy, I get it. But would somebody please share some responsibility with me in the fact, like, I can't deny the fact, okay, simple assault charge, you convicted me of it up here, I can't debate that. Like, that's grounds to violate me. But if y'all hadn't put me in jail for charges that were dismissed, that could not possibly have happened. He's like, I'm inclined to agree with you. He said, I'm going to give you a year to think about it. Because every time you show up, somebody almost dies, James. And he's like, before you say anything, charges are dismissed. I get that. But that doesn't change the facts of what you were arrested for. And I'm like, right. And he's like, you need to figure something out. Because you're going to die in prison. Or you're going to kill somebody and you're going to die in prison. Or you're going to die out here.
He's telling you your liability and just existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. So I sit there in that jail for that little bit of time. And for a year, you know, I ended up getting a trustee job. And I don't know, like, I caused a lot of problems in that jail. Like, they still won't let me go in to talk to the people in the jail and stuff. And even though they let a lot of other people go in there, and I understand, because I got a lot of history in that jail. Like, I did not play well with the other inmates. Definitely didn't play well with staff.
Yeah.
You know? And, but they let me have a trustee job, man. They said that I was behaving differently, that I was acting differently, and all the things. Mamaw Jean kept coming to see me. And I started coming up on my out date, which was January 26th of last year. Roger, I've been going to jail since I've been getting arrested since I was 15 years old. I've never gone more than 6 months and 11 days without going back to jail. And my fastest turnaround is 16 hours.
Nice.
Yeah. Long enough to walk to the next county and steal from their Walmart and get caught. Yeah, what is that? What is this? September? No, yeah, September, so 9. So, a year and 8 months.
Which is, every day you're setting a new personal best.
New personal
hour,
record. Yeah, by minute, personal best.
When you left Carter County, you got out, what did you do?
I got frostbite a couple years ago in active addiction and was freaking terrified of that. Absolutely freaking terrified of that again. And Mamaw got Tabitha's number for Recovery Resources.
Ah.
And I called her every day for like a week. And she told me
I'm trying to get frostbite, Tabitha.
Yeah, like I'm like, you understand, like I'm not trying to go through this anymore, you know? And she kept telling me the same thing. He's like, man, I got recovery court people, I got DRC people, I got people coming out of treatment. You ain't never been to treatment, you've never done outpatient, like you got no court order, like you're just, where'd you come from, you know? She's like, I can't fit you in, I got no beds. And I called her for days, Roger, days.
Yes.
She kept telling me the same thing. And I'm using my money. You know, I don't ever have no money, but I had $20 on my books for some reason, man. Like, all like that's that God stuff, man. Like that higher power stuff. Like, I don't ever have money, but the one time I'm willing to ask for help and take the suggestions, I've got the money to make the phone calls.
Yeah.
I can't plan that well. Something else has to plan that well for me, man.
All right.
And so I'm calling her, and I'm running out of money, you know. And finally, I laid on thick on that last call. Like, you understand, I'm going to die if you don't help me. Like, I don't know what to do. She's like, listen, I got an emergency bed policy I can activate and let you sleep on one of my couches if you will stop calling me. You know? And that's what I did, man. And my parents had turned their back on me, but the one time my dad was willing to help me out, he came and he picked me up, took me out to eat, got me some clothes, and dropped me off at Recovery Resources, man. And
What was your? I know your first time, obviously, just being in society, but like first time at recovery, first time with other people that have a different mindset, ideology, emotional stability about you. What has been your experience like in walking through the sober living program there?
I'd say the best way to describe me that first night there was he got me in the living room, you know. As nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs.
Yeah.
You know, hey, hi cat. About like that, man. You met Donnie. Donnie said I was so spooked he didn't know if I was gonna make the night. You know, I didn't do well with a lot of movement, a lot of noise, and you know, there's 10 or 12 guys in the house, and I'm in the living rooms, which is my sleeping area, is the community area. And they're trying to watch TV, and like I'm asleep, and they're all getting up for work in the morning, and it's just, man. And I fear people, man. My primary character defect is that I'm delusional. My primary delusion is that people aren't safe, that you're not safe, that none of these people are safe. And
well, that goes back pretty far then, doesn't it?
Yeah. And now here I am, like, I want you to help me, but helping me is filled with people. It freaks me out, you know. And then they take me to these meetings, and it's filled with people, and they're all trying to hug me and tell me they're glad I'm here. Yeah. I'm the most important person in the room, and I'm like, what do you want? Like, what is it you want? Like, oh man.
Also being on a different planet.
Yeah, like I'm sitting there like,
because you brought, let's say you brought home a lot with you from this experience, right? You show up to Recovery Resources with the ideologies, the emotional baggage, the mental
and the swastika this big on my neck.
Yes,
you know, like it's ridiculous.
I mean that's like a caveat or like a cherry on top to what's in your heart or in your mind and the indoctrination that you bring, not just from like your prison gang, but like the lifestyle and the person that you had created by living that way.
Yeah, like that code, that law, that set of rules that convicts go by and that drug addicts go by, that street rules and stuff.
What I keep thinking, absolutely. What I keep thinking about is like what the judge had told you, that every time you show up, somebody almost dies.
Yeah.
Which that person could be you, but that's the type of person that James is when he shows up.
Yeah. Chaos and destruction.
Yes.
And I think that's all I'm capable of. Like that's what I expect. I really, really did think that was all I was capable of, man. I didn't have any hope for anything better than that.
I couldn't imagine how much anxiety and just sheer like terror you had. It like existing. How sad that must have been for you, like internally.
I went to Beals to try and buy like some new clothes, and I couldn't do it. I could not do it. The just not even factoring in like it's in public and there's all these people and there's all these sounds and all the sheer amount of selection that was available. Like I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. I had to leave. I've tried unsuccessfully to buy shoes 3 times in the last 2 months and I have not been able to select a pair. I still struggle with that, man. A little bit, but like.
Yeah, that's okay though, because like you're still. To me, that sounds like progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're scared of frostbite. It's getting towards the fall. I know I might need some extra shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We haven't got there yet, but we know we need them.
Yeah.
What was you graduated from the sober living program?
I did. Yeah. I had.
What does that entail?
What was required of me to graduate?
Yes.
So I don't think there was a time restriction. I think it was having completed the first 4 phases, however fast you could do that. And they wanted me to have a move out plan, right? What's my finances look like? The Do I have a sponsor? Have I done these things? Am I connected to my recovery community? Do I have ongoing service commitments that are recovery related? And what do I do? Like, what am I going to do? What's my action plan for when I'm not okay? I'm not okay. And that was that, to ask for help. To not ever forget that I can ask for help. Roger, I'll be perfectly honest with you, bro. Like, when I moved out, I'd been here about 2 months, and I had not dealt with my mental health issues while I was in the sober living program. And while I was in their bubble and all these people are always checking on me and they're making sure that I'm okay, once I get over the initial fear of that,
It becomes
like,
another security measure.
yes, exactly, man. And then when I get here and it's just me and my cat. I was in 3rd grade the first time I tried to kill myself, and I've tried many times since then unsuccessfully, and that kind of came back, man. And I hadn't dealt with it.
I think I remember that.
And I'd had some issues in the program, and hadn't talked to anybody about it, and didn't follow through with it. But I had thought about it, you know. And I didn't even try to do any drugs or drink, man. But I definitely tried to take my life, man. And unsuccessfully, of course. I've never been successful at it, but
Thankfully.
But that to have that sickness, I would like not want to be here anymore, bro. Like, to just not exist. Because, like, if I'm being real with you, man, it's not that like I want to kill myself. Is that I wish I didn't exist. Because that I never had, but that's not possible. So the only other thing I got is that you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here and I've had my little breakdown and stuff, man. And I called Tabitha. And I was like, man, like I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. This is what's happening. And I just left a meeting. And she was like, I left it before it was over because I wasn't okay. She's like, I want you to go back in there and I want you to go back in that meeting and I want you to tell them people that you're not okay. She said, I want you to let them love on you. Right? And I want you to call your sponsor. Right? And I talked to my sponsor and he was like, James, he's like, you've never been able to successfully stop drinking or using drugs. I was like, yeah. And he's like, you're sitting there trying to kill yourself, but you still ain't picked up drugs or alcohol. I was like, yeah. And he's like, would you asked for help with those things, right? And it's so effective that you didn't even try to drink or drug. But you ain't asked for no help with how you feel inside, James. And I was like, man. He's like, in the book, the Alcoholics Anonymous book, it talks about outside issues. He says, James, you got an outside issue that might need an outside solution, bro. So I did, man. And it was right there in my action plan that I wrote when I left Recovery Resources, and never to forget that I can ask for help no matter what it is. And those people have never failed to be there for me from the moment I walked through their door to right now. You're sitting here talking to me right now, bro.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And that's huge, man. Because I spent my life thinking I was this terrified, alone, sick thing.
Yes.
And that nobody would be willing to help me, or that there was anybody out there that could help me. And that's categorically not true, man. There are countless people out there willing to help people like me, as much as or more than I'm willing to help myself, if I am willing to help myself.
That's powerful, dude. I feel so much authenticity from that. I wondered today, obviously, we're all just humans, so we're going to struggle with things as they come up. But I wonder for you if and how that inner monologue has changed, or maybe even just quieted down about you being not worthy of where you find yourself today.
Man,
because it takes somebody else to tell you the things about the reality, because how you look at it is obviously not right. Like, me too.
Yeah.
Like, we're delusional thinking of it. But like, if you are where you are currently, how is it not deserved and worthy? Like, because that's where you are.
Kind of like that imposter phenomenon. Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't deserve these things if these people still like really knew, you know. I get that, man. Like, at work, I got the code to the office trailer. I got the code to the tool trailer. They trust me to secure the job site or to come in on the weekend, the only employee there. Keys to all the equipment. It's like,
I think that's who you are. I think you've lived your life in such a way that it seems like it's going to take a little bit longer than a year and some months to like, okay, this is what I'm doing, but like accepting the fact that this is who I am comes after that.
And it's easier for me to, like, that feeling that maybe I'm out of place, or like if these people knew, they wouldn't trust me like that. Like I kind of got that internally, but at the forefront of all that, I got this thing, and Tabitha's husband mentioned it, man. He was talking about somebody that was struggling with how people see him or whatever, and he's like, or how he sees himself or feels like people are going to treat him. And he's like, listen, man, like this person that you're describing, right, that you're afraid people are going to see or respond to you, like, I've never even met that human, right? And like almost nobody on earth really has. Because like just a small group of people when you were like that, right? And now all of the people you've met since then have never even met that human. So does that guy even really exist? You know?
Ooh.
So like all of these people that have met me since then, that have like with my employer and all the people that have helped me get to where I am, I really am not that person to you because you never met that person.
It's kind of like you're making up this persona, this ex persona about yourself, and like trying so hard to convince us that that's who you were, as if somehow that's relevant to something.
Yeah, because like I didn't even met
I guess
that
it
version
is,
of you.
but like
But I'll tell you a funny story, man. They had at work they had brought this. That's kind of relevant to what you're talking about. They brought this light tower in for like when you set up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you can't see. It's like a $20,000 piece of equipment.
Nice.
Nobody's ever used it. We don't even have insurance on it yet. You know, we're the first ones to use it. At the end of the day, they're like, man, park it where the truck driver dropped it off. He'll pick it up after we leave. I was like, cool. Well, I come in the next day. Hey, Lucy. I come in the next day. Buddy pulls me aside and says, listen, man, stay away from the superintendent. When Ronnie got here to pick that thing up, somebody had already stole it because you left it out in the open. And I'm like, man. And the first thing that goes through my mind is like, man, I'm a crackhead. They're going to think I stole that. You know, I'm the one that parked it there. And I was like, man, I got to talk to Jamie about this. He's like, no, he done went to the office and lied for you and told them people you had it put where nobody could find it. Like, he don't even know how they got it to take up for you. I'm like, man. Well, I go home, I call my sponsor, and I'm like, listen, I can't let this dude lie for me. Like, that's bad. Like you told me to have some integrity. I can't do that. He's like, let's see how it plays out. Just play it out, James. Well, I go to work the next day, and I bring it up, and he's like, James, they're just joking with you, man. They knew you'd think that actually happened. Nobody stole that thing. Because they know that sometimes I still think like that. So
they was having fun with you.
Yeah, so they played a joke on me because they knew I'd fall for it because I'm self-conscious like that, man. But in the long run, I really think it helped me because I'm not that guy. Like,
I don't think you.
And they even told me that, like, even if it had gone missing, James, we wouldn't have thought you did it.
It's funny. I think there's like I've heard. Thank you for sharing that with me. It's a nice one. It reminds me of this thing about, and you probably haven't got that. You're probably still in that. Every day is brand new, and I'm with you. Every day is brand new, but there's like this cocoon-like state I think we go into after we come out of the life that we used to live, and a lot of times I think that I'd say for myself, I've went from a place of being ashamed or maybe embarrassed of my cracks and where I'm broken and hide it in some way or want to shield it, and then I've gone the other end of it and been maybe prideful about it, like, look how hurt I've been, right? Like, nobody's hurt like me, and then the whole gamut of it. But I think the reality of it, and I heard this somewhere, and I try to bring it into memory a lot, but when those feelings come up, but it's where we're cracked and broken is how the light comes through. Meaning to me that if I hadn't been through what I've been, I could not be capable of just letting that flow through me today. And to me, where I see you at, because I have like an objective opinion, I get to watch you, and to me, it seems like you're really coming into something that is like pretty potent from the way that I see it. Meaning that like whatever light is coming through you has much more space to do so than what I think it even does in me sometimes, man. You're like a lighthouse. And I think it's a wonderful responsibility. It's amazing. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this. Can we do it again?
Sure, if you want to.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you.